Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I have a question, not for the faint of heart. Do you dare wager 24 hours of your life? Forget the movies and your warm blankets. In a medieval dungeon, you won't die by sword or complex torture devices. You will die in the worst possible way, by self-destructing from the inside. Just 60 minutes after that iron door slams shut, your body will turn into a trembling machine. Your mind will begin to paint your most horrific nightmares, and your very survival instinct will become your enemy. We aren't going down there. We are going to be thrown down. Join me as we pass through 3 stages of destruction I call the Vise of Death. And remember this, if you can survive the first 12 hours, I will reveal why hearing the screams of others is even scarier than being tortured directly. Let's begin. Your foot slips on a rough, worn stone step. It's not walking, it's being dragged. The staircase is steep and slick, stained with moss and slimy moisture. The air begins to thicken. It's not just cold, it's alive. This cold is a creature with steel claws that scrape your lungs from the very first breath. Your breath puffs out, stands still, and then vanishes like a desperate ghost. In Northern Europe, where fortresses were carved directly into bedrock, dungeons were natural refrigerators, with temperatures always near freezing. Even in summer, the air never warmed up. Historians note that in places like Shillong Castle on Lake Geneva, moisture seeped into the stone, keeping the actual temperature 5 to 10 degrees lower than outside. Imagine being thrown down there on a January night. There's no way to get used to it. The cold, like an iron shroud, immediately tightens around your bones. Your skin crawls, not from fear, but because your body is begging for warmth. Your body is the first to betray you. You shiver, trying to find support, and then you touch it, the iron chain. The loops are the size of your thumb, rusted into a red powder like dried blood. This is not padded police cuffing. This is a tool designed to cut skin, bruise, and leave scars. The medieval mind didn't just use chains to prevent escape, they used them to remind you of your powerlessness. You are not just chained to stand or sit. In many dungeons, the iron rings were fixed to the wall at varying heights. This means you could be chained standing upright for hours, straining muscles and draining blood from your limbs. 13th century chronicles describe prisoners collapsing when released, their muscles no longer able to function. Worse, you could be chained, squatting, forcing your tailbone and knee joints to bear the weight in damp conditions, leading to horrific sores. Do you think you can endure an hour? Try holding your arms over your head for 15 minutes without moving. Now multiply that by 24. This isn't even considering privacy. Imagine multiple people chained close, like livestock, shoulder to shoulder, hearing the rasp of iron whenever someone slightly shifts. Within an hour, the iron chain will no longer be cold. It will warm up with your blood and sweat, leaving indelible stains on both metal and flesh. And that's just the start. Do you want to know what's scarier than being bound? Not being able to sleep. As you shuffle down to the dungeon floor, decay welcomes you. The stone floor is uneven, slick with sludge and grime. The smell is a mixture of wet earth, rusted metal, and mildew as thick as wool. It smells of straw, rotting after being soaked with urine and sweat for weeks. Guards sometimes burned herbs like rosemary or juniper at the entrance, not to comfort prisoners, but to mask the overpowering stench when nobles passed by, to avoid making them gag. The truth is, you can't escape it. The smell will cling to your clothes, your skin, and become part of your breath. Historical records confirm prisoners often suffered from chronic respiratory diseases, their lungs severely damaged after months of inhaling damp, moldy air. Furthermore, living in this cold, wet environment means small wounds from the chains or bumps will quickly become infected. In an age before antibiotics, even a minor scratch could be an unannounced death sentence. And here lies the most fragile boundary. When hunger becomes too strong, disgust vanishes. You start looking at the rats with different eyes. They are food. Chronicles record prisoners during famine chewing on tallow candles, leather straps softened in water, or even catching and eating beetles in their cells. You are in a vice where the instinct for survival is making you lose your humanity. You stagger to the filthy water trough in the corner. It's not water. It's a greenish, stagnant pool. covered with slime and grime. The smell wafts up, rancid, earthy, mixed with minerals. Rats drink there too. You are sharing a water source with the carriers of the plague. To drink or not to drink, this is your mortal bargain. You know you risk dysentery, high fever, or even death. But if you don't drink, you will collapse from dehydration even faster. You scoop the water, drink, and feel the revulsion rise. Historians point out that leaving prisoners to drink foul water was a survival trap. It ensured you lived, but never in health. It turned survival into slow self-poisoning with every sip. And the truth is, you won't die from hunger or thirst, but from the tiny, unseen creatures. Your straw mat isn't a bed, it's a nursery for decay. The straw hasn't been replaced in months, maybe years. It's packed with lice, fleas, and bedbugs, creatures that bite you relentlessly. A 15th century prisoner wrote, "The straw I lay upon did bite me more cruelly than the whip. The itching never stops." It's a constant torture that destroys all attempts at rest. The worst part is the helplessness. You scratch, you slap, but they return immediately. Their presence is the clearest evidence. You are no longer a person, you are a host. This vice doesn't need a guard. It's a biological war your body is losing. Do you think you are strong? Wait until the absolute darkness falls and your mind begins to betray you. Your entire body is trembling uncontrollably. Every attempt to sleep fails under the attack of the cold, the insects, the dripping water. Medieval records note that sleep deprivation was one of the most common torments. Prisoners were kept awake for days, causing their minds to collapse faster than any physical blow. You start to experience microsleeps. Your body shuts down for a few seconds without your consent. Each time you jerk awake, you are more disoriented, unsure how long you slept or how long you've been awake. Everything you've experienced in the first 12 hours has led to this moment. Absolute darkness. The last torch goes out, leaving you in a darkness you've never known. This is not the night with moonlight. This is a vacuum, a suffocation. A 14th century monk wrote that a man in a dungeon may not know day from night for weeks. In the absence of light, your brain will do the unthinkable. It invents images. You will see faint glimmers, distorted shadows, even grotesque faces. A Hungarian prisoner swore he saw an angel appear nightly, only to vanish when he tried to touch it. This is sensory deprivation, turning you into a madman, forcing you to cling to illusions. And worst of all, you won't be able to trust your hearing. In that stillness, every small sound is amplified, distorted. A rat's scuttle sounds like thunder. Your cough echoes as if 10 men coughed with you. The stillness becomes so terrible that your brain starts to manufacture sound to fill the void, a madness you cannot control. In this state of exhaustion, the line between waking and dreaming has blurred. You start to be tormented by hallucinations of food and freedom. You see yourself by a warm hearth, but the fire pulls your chains tighter. You see a piece of bread, but when you bite, it turns to ash. The disappointment after every dream is the most cruel psychological blow. You are not allowed any comfort. In the stillness, you hear it. It's the groans, the pleas, the sobbing cries of other prisoners filtering through the thick stone walls. They are the echoes of your own future. A 15th century Italian prisoner was obsessed with the voice of his neighbor, sometimes whispering, sometimes crying uncontrollably. Their grief becomes yours. They are half companion, half curse. And here is the cliffhanger I promised. Why is hearing someone else scream scarier than being tortured? Because it brings certainty about what is coming, but not when. You hear the whip's lash, the creaking metal of the rack, stretching device, or even the sizzling sound of burning flesh. You see nothing, but the smell and sound make your imagination draw the perfect torture. The waiting itself is the ordeal. You will have to hear the worst of human suffering. Scholars note prisoners tried to communicate through the walls, creating strange friendships. But those very friends can be the source of madness, as they recount exaggerated stories or terrifying hallucinations, infecting your mind with fear. The decay is not just in the air, it's in the soul. You will hear the moans of a man being branded with red-hot iron, and even after the screaming stops, the acrid, oily smell lingers in the air, proving the brutality is real. And right next to you, the final vice is the destruction of identity. you start to be haunted by whispers of the oubliette. The name originates from the French, meaning place of forgetting. It's a deep, narrow pit without a door, just wide enough for one person. Archaeologists found these pits under castles, sometimes littered with bones. You are lowered down and the lid slams shut. No guards, no chains, no torture, just oblivion. You won't die from hunger, cold, or whipping, but because no one remembers you exist. This is perfect brutality. Finally, the cold doesn't just come from the stone, it comes from flooding. Dungeons often flooded during heavy rains, causing sewage and mud to rush in. The freezing water rises to your knees, forcing you to stand straight, making your body tremble and collapse from exhaustion. The cruelty of the dungeon is the combination of every element. The cold paralyzes the body, the stench poisons the breath, the screaming destroys the spirit, and the lack of sleep steals sanity. You would not last a day because your own mind would betray you, destroying your survival mechanism. Let all those images fade. You have walked through 24 hours of destruction. You felt the mind-numbing cold, the dehumanizing hunger, and the silence that drives you mad. The last thing you learned is, the medieval dungeon doesn't need to kill you quickly. It only needs to make you believe death is a release. You have survived this imaginary journey, but remember, the comfort and warmth of the present is proof that such brutality truly existed. Cherish that. If these terrifying stories and forgotten historical truths have kept you engaged, please help this channel continue to unearth them. Hit like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next dark journey. You are safe now, sleep well, and don't let the cold of the dungeon haunt your dreams.